Shortly, we are going to be live in YouTube and begin this meeting. So we welcome everyone to this meeting. To all sisters and brothers that join us today from all over the world and India, we thank all of you for your presence. We welcome you to this public lecture on devotion, Sublime Path Towards the Absolute by Sister Patrizia Calvi from Italy, organized by Pragya CS Studio as a part of an effort to take the opportunities given by this pandemic to spread theosophical teachings and to provide a space of sharing together in unity and brotherhood in spite of the physical distances and frontiers that are ultimately, as we know, only an illusion, as we all are united by the divine in us. As always, we will start our meeting with the universal invocation, indicating the unity in diversity and oneness of life. And today, our universal prayer will be followed by a short meditation for peace and unity, which is fundamental in this time of international crisis. After this short meditation, we will begin with today's beautiful and important subject by our dear Patrizia. So I request all of you to please get comfortable, close your eyes, and begin this moment of meeting with our inner self. Oh, hidden life, vibrant in every atom. Oh, hidden light, shining in every creature. Oh, hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May all who feel themselves as one with thee know they are therefore one with every other. Now, for some minutes, we will keep our mind and hearts focused in the peace and unity. We are going to take 3 deep breaths. We are going to pronounce the sacred word Om 3 times. Om. Let us relax our body and release any tension we have. We thank for this opportunity to be present here and now. We ask for forgiveness and forgive all those whom we have offended and who have offended us with or without intention. May reconciliation and harmony be present in all our relationships. With the power of our thought, let us visualize the Earth globe in front of us. Let us visualize our home, the common home of all the humanity, of all the inhabitants, Gaia. While visualizing the earth in front of us, let us send thoughts of peace, love, harmony, reconciliation, unity to all its inhabitants. Let us synchronize our hearts and thoughts with all of them. Let us visualize the earth involved in a pure, white, shiny light. Today, let us concentrate especially in sending these thoughts, these feelings, this light to our sisters and brothers who are being affected by the current conflict in Ukraine. We send strength, understanding, courage, love. Likewise, let us send thoughts of discernment and feelings of humanity to the leaders who are in charge of making decisions in this conflict, so that the light of Atman may guide their steps towards the immediate peace. May the inner self, the inner life, prevail. Our brethren on the other side of the world are just like us. They have the same dreams, the same hopes and fears. This is one world. We are all part of a big family. Thus, we can share this feeling of peace and harmony with all of them. Let us stay for a couple of minutes in silence with these intentions in our hearts. Now, slowly, let us come back to this moment. Let us slowly open our eyes to come together with this beautiful and inspiring subject that we are going to share today. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Well, now we are moving forward to introduce today's speaker, our dear sister from Italian section of the Theosophical Society, Patrizia Calvi. Patrizia is the secretary of the Theosophical Society in Italy. She is as well a member of the Executive Committee of the European Federation of Theosophical Societies and an additional member of the International General Council of the Theosophical Society. Apart from that, for those who have had the pleasure of meeting Patrizia, we can say that her delicate presence brings always harmony and serenity. She is a theosophist with all her heart and soul, and also a tireless worker for the theosophical ideals. It is our honor to introduce her to talk to us on devotion, sublime path towards the absolute. Patrizia, thank you very much for accepting our invitation, and the floor is all yours. Welcome.
Dear Catalina, dear Shika, dear friends, it is my pleasure and honor to be with you all. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Well, may I share some slides that I would like to... Oh, it disappears. Let me see what I can do from here. My goodness. Oh. Well, I will be, yes, this is the file. Well,
yeah, it is coming now. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, but can you see it properly? Maybe there is something that I can't. Ooh.
You can scroll a little bit down. Yeah. That's
yeah. That's it.
Okay, that's it. Yeah.
Maybe. Okay. Bon. Well, first of all, my love and prayers and meditation to our Ukrainian friends, Svetlana, Nikola, Yulia, Olena, all of them in this really challenging situation. And I know that all over the theosophical world, the people is praying and meditating. So I am confident that something will happen on this side of the world, something special, something really different from what has happened till now. Well, let we go back to our devotion, Sublime Path to the Absolute. In every human soul, there is a conscious or unconscious desire that nothing can satisfy. The desire for the sublime. It is a nostalgia for the absolute, that spiritual home whence we came and towards which we feel we have to head on our return journey. There comes a stage in our interior advancement when its call becomes irresistible and the journey becomes a noble adventure into the undescribable, the eternal and the immortal. It is incredibly powerful because it gives humans hope and inspiration, driving them to seek out the glory that was once theirs. And it puts them on the path of inner research, on the path of inner fulfillment. The process can either unfold along a long, broad path or along a narrow and fast, but difficult one. I have chosen to discuss this topic because a number of times lately I have come across a claim, and this is probably no coincidence, about the opportunities and the ways in which humans can free themselves from poverty and suffering, leading them to the absolute. According to this claim, let me see if I have. Oh, well, let we do like that. Only devotion can pave the way to spiritual progress. It is a claim that raised some questions in my mind, because when I was looking into the concept, I had embraced the idea of the 4 paths or margas traditionally plotted in Hinduism. They refer to the 4 types or categories of people who base their choices on their innermost feelings and follow one of these 4 paths to the ultimate destination. And they are Karma Marga, the way of action and salvation through doing things. And the second is Bhakti Marga, the way of devotion, offering salvation through faith. The third is Raja Yoga Marga, or the regal path, and number 4 is considered to be the most sublime and precious of all. It is Jnana Marga, or the way of wisdom through knowledge. The first step in my research was to go back over some verses of the Bhagavad Gita, whose name literally means the song of God. Indian philosophy reaches a pinnacle in the Bhagavad Gita. It is considered one of the great Hindu scriptures and has been called the Hindu Bible. It seems that the Bhagavad Gita led the way in spreading the concept of devotion or bhakti, although there are many nuances associated with the practice. The concept of devotion is not found in previous scriptures, which only tell people to fear and worship the gods. After all, does anyone have such a developed sense of devotion as the people of India? Let's take a look at a very short extract of chapter 9 to see what the Bhagavad Gita proposes. Whoever offers me with devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I accept that gift of the pure-hearted man which has been devotionally presented. O son of Kunti, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer as a sacrifice, whatever you give and whatever austerities you undertake, all that you offer to me. And the third one, thus you will become free from bondage in the form of actions which are productive of good and bad results. Having your mind imbued with devotion and renunciation, becoming free, you will attain me. In the chapter 12, Krishna states the importance of the path of devotion or bhakti yoga over all other types of spiritual discipline and reveals various aspects of devotion. This chapter distinguishes between two different types of devotee: those who worship the formless Brahman or the unmanifested God, and those who worship the personal form of God. Krishna states that both can reach the ultimate destination, but those who worship the personal form are the best. And the path of bhakti is the loftiest of all because meditating upon the unmanifested God is tough. So the path is full of dangers and difficulties. Sri Krishna goes on to state that this move towards God is not a gift that arrives mysteriously. It takes effort and constant practice to achieve perfection. And he adds that cultivating knowledge is better than robotically practicing. And we can mention, for instance, the robotic way in which people sometimes use a rosary. And he said also that meditation is superior to knowledge. Surpassing all of this is renunciation to the fruits of the action, which leads to great inner peace. The following words can be found in chapter 12. Here they are. Fix the mind on me alone. In me alone rests the intellect. There is no doubt that hereafter you will dwell in me alone. So the Bhagavad Gita recommends filling our mind with thoughts of God. This enables us to lose all sense of our ego and thus be in union or yoga with God. It is an opportunity that would appear to be within everyone's reach as long as we cultivate a unique personal relationship with God based on conscious and thus extremely profound love. The words of the Gita make me think of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, which is better known as the Hare Krishna movement, and was founded in New York in 1966 by the Indian guru Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Movement is based on the teaching of the Bengali mystic Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, following a disciple line of spiritual leaders that is traced directly back to Krishna. And here we have a beautiful image of Krishna. It is founded on the devotion to Krishna, who is considered the Bhagavat, God, the Supreme Being. And it has its basis on devotion to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is seen as a manifestation of the God Krishna. The followers of Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada dedicate their lives to devotion and say that bhakti, or devotional service to Krishna, is the most powerful, pure, and elevated of all the activities. They say that there are 9 types of devotional service: hearing about Krishna, chanting his name, talking about him, remembering him, serving his lotus feet, worshiping him, offering prayers to him, becoming his servant, becoming his friends, and completely surrendering to him. They say that carrying out one or more of these activities brings followers even closer to him, to Krishna. Doing it with purity can bring love for God, which is the most sublime achievement. For example, we can take the service of remembering Krishna. According to authoritative commentaries, the essence of this teaching lies in the Bhagavad Gita, and in particular in the 6 central chapters out of a total of 18. And these 6 central chapters are its essence, they say. But the essence of these 6 chapters is chapter 9, entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge. And the last verse of chapter 9, verse 34, is considered the real center of the Gita, its essence. Krishna starts it with the words, "Always think of me." Therefore, of all of Krishna's instructions, the essence of the essence of the essence is to remember him at all times. Thinking of Krishna in a pure way evokes the personal presence of the Lord. As Queen Kunti states in the Bhagavad Purana, and we can see here her words, "As the Ganges forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else." Devotees of Sri Krishna chant the holy name of the Lord with joy and conviction. Part of their inspiration comes from the Kali Santarana Upanishad, and I quote, "At the end of the Dvapara Yuga, Narada went to Brahma and addressed him thus: Oh Lord, how shall I, roaming over the earth, be able to overcome the effects of Kali Yuga?" Brahma replied thus: "You have asked well. Listen to that which all the Vedas keep secret and hidden. something through which one may cross the ocean of mundane existence or samsara during Kali Yuga. It is through the mere recitation of the names of the primeval personality of Godhead, Lord Narayana, that one transcends the evil effects of the Kali Yuga. So Narada asked again, what are those names? And Brahma replied, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. These 16 names destroy the negative effects of Kali. No better means than this is to be had in all the Vedas. This method is said to reawaken the awareness of Krishna in us. Chanting the mantra surpasses all of the lower strata of consciousness, namely sensual, mental, and intellectual. And it is not necessary to understand or speculate on the meaning, but it is worthwhile looking further into the meaning because it is very interesting. The word Hara is a way of appealing to the energy of the Supreme Being, and the words Krishna and Rama are a direct reference to the Lord. They both mean the greatest, the most eternal pleasure. Well, the word devotion has undergone changes over time. This is certainly true in our culture, at least, where it is now associated with the type of devoutness and religiosity that has nothing to do with the genuine devotion. But the real meaning of devotion is when the lower self aspires to the absolute, to the supreme. It is in a form of consecration that is fueled by that total abnegation that comes out of love for the object that has inspired it. And the level of enthusiasm behind it must be so great that any sacrifice can be made. In an article published in the Italian Theosophical Society magazine, it was of August 1911, Maria Luisa Calvi stated, "Devotion is not just the only logical response to greatness, but also the only frame of mind that clears the path to the love that flows from a superior being." And she recommended us to open the windows of the soul and to let in the light of divine love, because this will enable us to recognize He who is on His way. Devotion is love. And those who show it have a chord within them that vibrates in response to the fundamental note of His nature with capital H. It can echo, although only faintly, the love that He embodies. At this stage in my research, I took inspiration from a short work on the value of devotion by Annie Besant. She wrote it in 1911, and I will try to sum it very briefly. It suggests that a clear understanding of the nature of the feeling of devotion is necessary because it has the capacity to raise humans, but it is also equally capable of degrading them and steering them away from the path of evolution if it takes the form of fanaticism. The latter is a lever that can be just as strong as devotion, but it leads the humans towards degradation, clouding their hearts and their minds. Besant states that fanaticism shows an illusory resemblance to devotion, but the latter has its roots in knowledge and bears the fruits of love, while the former is founded on ignorance and produces nothing but poisoned apples. If it is unregulated by knowledge, the emotion of fanaticism is like a river, overflowing its banks and causing devastating floods, while emotion guided by knowledge is like the same river, running through the proper channels and fertilizing the land through which it flows. And Besant makes a really interesting distinction. She distinguishes between the intellectual, spiritual, and emotional aspects of humans, saying that the last of the three is the energizing force that causes action, and therein lies the source of devotion. The loving side of the emotional nature leads us to direct these feelings towards a superior object, and we surrender ourselves to a teacher with a capital T, to God, essentially, so to something greater than ourselves. And she continues saying that it is very simple to grasp the distinction between fanaticism and devotion. If it makes us humble, tolerant, gentle, affectionate, and friendly, then it is true devotion. If we become more proud, harsh, and suspicious, then we can be sure that we are following the other path. All people seek happiness. And we know that authentic, glorious bliss lies in the union with the Absolute. Hence, the attraction that human beings have always felt to avatars, or divine incarnations. Their spirits are so bright that the rays of divine light are even able to shine through the veil of matter and illusion, lighting up the eyes and expanding the hearts of human beings, giving so them hope and vigor. Now I would like to pass to the devotion on Christianity. It mainly flows toward Christ, the incarnation of God. We can see here a quotation from the Gospels. It is Matthew. Here it is Christ that says, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." However, over the centuries, the cult of the saints and the Mother of God has proliferated in various forms because they are deemed to be close to the Lord and therefore capable of interceding on our behalf. These types of devotion come on top in the liturgy, and take an extremely wide range of forms, including novenas, processions. Here we can see a procession of the Holy Virgin in South Italy, pilgrimages, rosary, litany recitations, Eucharistic adoration, the veneration of relics, and here we can see a very ancient painting with the veneration of the relic of St. Mark in Venice. This is the St. Mark Square in Venice. As you can see at the bottom of the picture, where there is the queue of priests, there is something gold that is brought around the square. Well, and of course, Marian feasts and so on and so on. The Catholic Church recognizes the benefits of this popular devotion, which accompany and complement the liturgies. However, the latter has the precedence over all the other aspects. Now, I would like to take a quick look at this topic in the Islamic world. In the Islamic world, acts of devotion and worship have two correlated purposes. The first is following God's order as a test of obedience during the wait for the day of judgment. The second is transformation of those who practice devotion into something more in keeping with the divine will. In Islam, devotion makes it easier to act in a way that is more ethical and just. It is quite a form of education. The most obvious means of showing devotion in the Islamic world is keeping the 5 pillars. And here they are. Fasting during the Ramadan, giving to the poor, declaration of belief in one true God, 5 times daily prayer facing Mecca, and pilgrimage to Mecca at least once in their lives. Let we pass now to Hebraism. Here, a central role is played by the laws that God gave to Moses at Sinai Mount. These laws guide the lives of individuals and the people as a whole during both daily and big events. Spiritual devotion takes a number of forms in Hebraism too. First of all, there is prayer. Here we can see Jerusalem. At 3 different times during the day, evening, morning, and afternoon. A 4th prayer is added on Shabbat and holidays. In addition, practicing Orthodox Jews say daily prayers and blessing while they perform a variety of actions, such as waking up in the morning or before they eat and drink a range of items and so on. On Jewish holidays, there are ceremonies and festivals, pilgrimages, ritual baths for spiritual elevation, and the celebration of the Torah, because people are closer to God when they study the Torah in a deep meditative state. The Kabbalists hold that not only do the words of Torah give a divine message, but they also indicate a far greater message that extends beyond them. They hold that even a simple mark or the smallest letter or a decorative marking, or these repeated words were put there by God to teach numerous lessons. And according to one Kabbalistic interpretation, the Torah is the extended name of God, and it was divided into words so that the human mind could understand it. The Torah scrolls are stored in the holiest part of the synagogue, in a chamber known as the Holy Ark. Devotion is also a central practice in Buddhist religious observances as a form of solemn commitment to a person or to an object. Although in traditional texts, devotional acts are sometimes not strictly considered part of the path to enlightenment, they are nonetheless deemed a way to prepare to the path. One of the main practices is meditation on the virtues of the Buddha. That is said also Buddha mindfulness. Most Buddhists use devotional rituals in pursuit of their spiritual aspirations. Examples include prostrating, making offerings, venerating relics, chanting traditional texts, pilgrimages, celebrating festivals such as Vesak, and meditation to devote oneself to the Buddha or to a teacher. Buddhism considers inner devotion as more important than outer rituals, and Buddhist devotion is not only directed toward the Buddha, and here we have a beautiful picture, but also to his teachings or Dharma, and inanimate objects such as stupas and Buddhist texts or sutras, which are seen as the body of the Dharma or the body of the Buddha. And one of the more controversial Buddhist devotional practice is self-immolation. In Buddhist teaching, the human body is regarded as without an intrinsic value, but it can become valuable depending on how it is used. This is the idea behind self-immolation, which is considered a form of heroism if it is done as a good deed. And well, although the practice has now become uncommon, it still has a degree of popularity. Especially in the East, people tend to do this, to remove their shoes before entering most temples. In ancient times, shoes were a status symbol, and removing them was an expression of respect, of humility. But it also helped to keep the temple area clean, and it probably works also now in the same time. As theosophists, we could also show our devotion to those beings with capital letter that have obtained liberation but voluntarily remain in contact with humankind in order to support its efforts and to guide them towards their fate, as well as the masters that we meet in here on earth, people that we name as masters, our masters, who show us the way by setting enlightening examples. In the Secret Doctrine, Blavatsky states that when moved by the law of evolution, the laws of wisdom infused into man the spark of consciousness, the first feeling it awoke to life and activity was a sense of solidarity, of oneness with his spiritual creators. It's beautiful. And Blavatsky continues like that. As the child's first feeling is for its mother and nurse, so the first aspirations of the awakening consciousness in primitive man were for those whose element he felt within himself, and who yet were outside and independent of him. And he finished the quotation like that. Devotion aroused out of that feeling and became the first and foremost motor in his nature. For it is the only one which is natural in our heart, which is innate in us, and which we find alike in human babe and the young of the animal. It's beautiful, really inspiring. So how can we summon and nourish devotion within ourselves? Well, among the options, we can include focusing our mind on beauty, listening to our innermost selves, discovering and recognizing the perfection of everything that exists, and cultivating the friendship of people who shine more brightly than us on the devotional front. Then there is obviously also direct contemplation with meditation on the object of our devotion. If we are fully aware that in the spiritual world, when people take a step towards, so to say, God, in turn, God takes 100 steps toward him. Devotion makes those that practice it similar to the object of their journey. The Chandogya Upanishad teaches us that man was created through thought, and that he is what he thinks, but only the fire of devotion can shape him into a likeness of the Absolute. And I don't know if I am, yes. We probably have some time.
Yeah, we do have.
Okay, I'm trying to short it, but
No, it's okay.
I don't know when we have to finish, Sika.
No, you can complete your presentation.
Well,
we still have
it will take 15 minutes probably, no more.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's okay.
Is it too much?
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay. So it is said that devotion purifies the soul, and by seeking union with the Supreme Being, devotees can turn away from evil. That their love burns all of the dross that prevents them from reaching it. And Bazin makes an interesting distinction between those who seek themselves and those who seek the self, immediately adding that those who practice pure devotion fall into the second category. Devotees can be recognized from the way in which they interact with others, showing distinctive qualities such as loving care, compassion, and an open mind towards all faiths and philosophies. And we have a great number of examples. of these perfect devotees. And I like to share with you the story of Sri Ramanujacharya. His guru once gave him a mantra, and Sri Ramanujacharya asked him, what would happen if I told it to another? And his guru said, thou will die. What will happen to the one who hears it? Asked Ramanujacharya. He will be liberated, replied the guru. So the devoted Ramanujacharya raised to the top of a tower and started shouting the mantra to the crowded streets below, without worrying about what would happen to him, focusing solely on the opportunity for the others to be set free from sin and sorrow. He was an exemplary devotee who was transformed into the likeness of his beloved. And well, speaking of devotion, I would like to take this opportunity to pay a tribute to Thich Nhat Hanh. We can see him. Oh, this is a picture of Sri Ramanujacharya, but you Indian friends know him better than me. And this is Thich Nhat Hanh, the great Zen Buddhist monk who inspired many of us and passed beyond the veil of matter on the 22nd of January this year, leaving us an incredible legacy. His words warn us to be wary of a certain type of worship. He said, please do not build a stupa for me. Please do not put my ashes in a vase, lock me inside and limit who I am. I know this will be difficult for some of you. If you must build a stupa though, please make sure that you put a sign on it that says, I am not in here. In addition, you can also put another sign that says, I am not out there either. And the third sign that says, if I am anywhere, it is in your mindful breathing and in your peaceful steps. It really moves me. It's an incredible message. Well, I would like to go toward the end of this speech by sharing the point of view on this topic of my favorite revolutionary, Jiddu Krishnamurti, which can be found in an extract from the second series of his teachings. It is chapter 10 of the second series of his teachings. The chapter contains a dialogue between Krishnamurti and what I can say, a devotee who is content of his devotion to God, but that he calls the song of his heart and his happiness. So he's very, very engaged in this devotion to God. But at the same time, this devotee realizes that Krishnamurti's devotion is very different and surpasses his own. And he would like to understand the nature and beauty of JK's devotion, which has neither images nor rituals. So I would like to share some very short, prominent passages of this piece of writing, but I think it deserves to be read in full. At a certain point, J.K. states, let us see what we mean by devotion. You spend several hours a day in what you call the love, the contemplation of God. But is that devotion? The man who gives his life to social betterment is devoted to his work. And the general, whose job is to plan destruction, is also devoted to his work. Is that devotion? And the man who worships his work, his leader, his ideology, is also consumed by that with which he is occupied. You fill your heart with the word God and another person with activity. But is that devotion? The worshipper is the worshipped. And he continued saying, to worship another is to worship oneself. The image, the symbol, is a projection of oneself. And he carried on saying, after all, your idol, your book, your prayer is the reflection of your background. It is your creation, though it be made by another. You choose according to your gratification, and your choice is your prejudice. You are worshipping yourself through the image created by your own thoughts. Your devotion is the love of yourself. Such devotion is a form of self-deception that only leads to sorrow and to isolation, which is death. Identification with the great is still a projection of the small. The more, it is an extension of the less. The small, in search of the large, will find only what it is capable of finding. So for Krishnamurti, the search for an answer is an escape from what is. This search is called by various names, one of which is devotion, but to understand what is, the mind must be silent. It is only when the mind is silent that the truth of what is unfolds. So, well, the devotee says to J.K., I'm happy with my God, with my chant and my devotion. Your song may be more clear, more open than mine, but when I sing, my heart is full. What more can a man ask than to have a full heart? And J.K. answers like that. When the song is real, there is neither you nor I, but only the silence of the eternal. The song is not the sound, but the silence. Do not let the sound of your song fill your heart.
Patricia? I guess
Some signal.
net issue. Yeah. Let me call her.
In the meantime, we would just like to share with our friends that after this talk we'll be taking up.
She has joined. She has joined.
Okay. Kindly unmute yourself, please. It's okay. It's okay. No problem. It's okay.
Oh wait, she cannot unmute. Let me
Okay.
see one thing. I just changed this. Now you can unmute, Patrizia.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Well,
Yes,
fine.
yes.
We were saying that, I will be back to, there is a saying koan that goes on like that. If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. It is a way of urging us to not to place more importance on the container instead of that on the content. But how many times we have fallen into the trap of wanting a spiritual leader, a spiritual guide. However, people can sometimes also cling to a teaching or a truth. No problem. We embrace a creed, a religion, a master, a guru, thinking that we have found the absolute truth and passing judgment on those who follow other paths. This koan makes us contemplate the importance of searching inside ourselves without identification, not to mention moving beyond the myth of the master, and leaving behind us the illusion of being able to entrust others with our evolution, because in actual fact, we are our own best teacher. All of these teachers can be ours to the extent that to which we give them the role of masters. So let we think with our own head, listen to our hearts, and continue along our paths with peace of mind. Because in the end, we will discover that everything is our teacher. Nonetheless, I will add that sometimes we face ourselves with superior beings and people that we consider superior to us. I am sure that at least once in our life we have met people like that. And the natural, instinctive feeling mentioned by Blavatsky rises up within us because we are entranced by a sense of respect, of wonder and veneration that is irrepressible and has an inspiring and auspicious effect. And this is a concept that can be found in every culture, and it includes experiences such as seeing the Pope, the Dalai Lama, a guru, a sage, or a relic. But it can be also extended, so to say, in a secular way, to encompass meetings with big international personalities. Take people who fight for ideas that we share, for example. So physical contact with these people genuinely conveys something that becomes a sacred act. When we meet these people in person, something happens. Of course, this cannot occur through internet or the telephone, because our physical bodies have a part to play in this meeting. Emotions are relayed that sweep across our whole beings and make a mark, profoundly and irreversibly changing us. And so I hope that you will always have chances to come together with people like this, even in these times of social distancing, but also of great opportunities for our souls. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Sister Patrizia, and I think we all would agree that this gathering was one of such opportunities. That listening to you was really, it was not just inspiring and informative, and not just arousing of devotion, but also since you presented a comparative study of all the religions, how devotion is expressed in different religions, Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Jewish, Buddhism, Kabbalah, that it's perfect for the second objective of the Theosophical Society, which is behind you. I can see 1, 2, 3, although it's in Italian. Yes, which of course leads us to that feeling of brotherhood. So I don't want to say anything more, because you have already shared such thoughts and ideas for all of us to contemplate. But still, if any of our viewers, any of our delegates, friends have any queries or any things to share on this path of devotion, they can unmute themselves and they can either put the question in the chat box or they can raise their hands. And to begin with, I have one question to Patrizia, that you have shared with so much devotion this lecture. What do you feel that your inner approach is? Is it more towards jnana or devotion or action? And how do you personally feel about it?
Well, my approach is quite, it has a lot of action, because of course life is so hectic and busy also here in the General Secretariat of the Italian section. So 8, 9, 10 hours of my days are here. And this is, but of course I am with Krishnamurti that says that we need to make room, to make space, because otherwise it is like the corn of the cup. If you don't empty it, it can't be filled. So it is quite difficult. It is quite difficult, because after 10 years of active work, to stop, to make a stop is quite a challenge. But
Sure.
we have to do it. It is our challenge. I believe it is the challenge of these hectic times. And then it depends also on how, which are the feelings that you bring with you when you work. Because devotion can be shown also through our work. And but it is difficult sometimes when we have 3 telephones ringing together, or people asking 3 things, different things. But we all know very well what it means. So.
Yeah, thank you so much about that. And
well, congratulations, Patrizia.
Oh.
This is Shinde speaking.
Oh, Professor Shinde,
Yeah.
what an honor to
And
see
you
you.
have explained very nicely, as Shikhar Agnihotri told, that you have given the details of all religions, how they go towards such devotion. So very nice. And finally, you said it is the action which you give more importance. Yes, we call it as the work is worship. So when we say devotion, work is worship, and we are oriented to serve. That is the mission of us. So very nice explanation. Thank you. It is a good, interesting and inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Shinde. I'm sure that you have a lot more to say about devotion, especially in the Hindu tradition.
Yeah, but I congratulate you. You studied our Hindu and Bhagavad Gita and you quoted all that.
I love it.
That is really appreciable.
It is incredible how many times the Bhagavad Gita comes out when you study theosophy or other things. It is incredible. It is a real tool of evolution.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Shinde.
Patrizia, we have a question in our YouTube for someone that is watching live your beautiful talk. Thank you very much. And his question is as follows. Madam, in devotion, should we suggest the mid path or else will it lead us to dogmatic or robotic practice?
Oh, good question too. I don't believe these robotic practices will lead us anywhere because they are, when you say robotic, you mean that your mind is even out, that you are not conscious of what you are doing. And I believe that without being conscious of what you are doing, you can go anywhere. So devotion has nothing to do with this kind of practices. Maybe they can make you feel doing something for yourself, but I don't feel it is enough. But usually, sometimes it happens that the devotee at a certain point feels that these practices gives him or her nothing. He feels the void that comes from repeating without being really conscious of what they say this. And that is a kind of start for a new search, because this is the important thing, that sometimes we make a step and we start again our search, and then we can go on, and we know it is an infinite path, and we are all engaged in it, even if at different degrees, but we are all there on the path, and it is beautiful to share these thoughts, because in sharing we clarify also that to ourselves. And so I thank you so much for this.
Yeah, actually we have to keep practicing, no? And maybe yes. And this consciousness in devotion can be a way to reach that presence, being in the present moment, so that way, as you were saying, it doesn't become a robotic practice, because actually it's,
It can be seen, it's everywhere, in praying the prayer of the Hebrews, the Jews, in Buddhists, in Christians, people saying the rosary without just making a gesture, but void of its content, of its sacred content. But it is a problem, a question of awareness, and it comes. It comes.
Maybe, that is what J. Krishnamurti is trying to emphasize. To be aware, you don't need rituals, and what you said about Thich Nhat Hanh, that
I love him.
no temple or nothing is needed. It's in the breathing and the awareness. And we are running, almost coming to the close of our time. But if you permit one last question from the chat.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
And after that, we will proceed, if there are no more questions, for the prayers. That it's more like a thought, or what your ideas about that when there is suffering, that suffering comes in the life of people, they tend to become more devoted. I mean, there are both the sides. They tend to become more maybe alcoholic, or maybe they go to the negative direction, but also they tend to go in the devoted direction, or becoming more religious, or more, doing all those things. So do you think that suffering plays a role in the evolution, in this process of developing devotion also?
Another good question. Yeah. Well, I think that Blavatsky too said that we learn almost only through our sufferings. Because when we are fine, when things are well, when we don't have problems, we do not. Usually, people doesn't ask themselves things that they happen to ask themselves when they are suffering. So unfortunately, we learn almost all times only through suffering. We would do it even when we are fine, but we don't do it, or not. The most part of the people don't do it when they are fine. They don't ask themselves anything. They live and nothing else.
Yeah, so in that sense, suffering is also a blessing in disguise given to us by nature. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. If there are...
Thank you. No,
thank you, friends.
Thank you very much, Patrizia. Thank you very much.
And if there are no more questions, okay, I do not see any hands raised. Brother Eric, you would like to say something, or?
Love, peace, harmony, abundance to all.
Love, peace,
Brother
harmony,
Eric,
abundance.
please unmute. Brother Eric, you are
okay,
muted.
I'm on mute. Yes. It was very great to hear this meeting, especially these days with Ukraine, and what we've done here, maybe put something for the people over there. Yeah. Maybe not directly, but spiritually. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining.
We have done it all together.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Colonel Kailash, also for always sharing your love, peace, harmony, abundance with everyone. And now, coming to the close of today's session, we would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude on behalf of Pragya CS Studio and all the delegates that we had an opportunity to listen to this very, as I said, not just informative, but very inspiring talk, in which you blended all the religions and their religious and devotional practices. And ultimately, it's not the practice, it's the awareness that counts. So thank you, Sister Patrizia, once again.
Thank you, friends. Thank you.
Yeah.
I miss Adia. I miss it so much that when I think about it, I start to cry.
Yeah.
And this is, well,
no, yeah.
I do hope we meet you back there at the end of the year.
Most likely.
And, yes, I thank you all for your patient listening, and I send you all a big Italian hug.
Okay.
Thank you. Very well received. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Gracias. Oh, okay, that's Spanish.
Grazie.
And we would also like to thank all our friends and delegates, brothers and sisters from India and all around the world, and who joined us and made this a very interactive session. And thank you for taking time for that. And now, before doing the closing prayers, just a couple of announcements that we have to make regarding the international gathering of the young theosophists, which is coming on 3rd to 7th of June. And the guest speakers there will be International President Tim Boyd and Vicente Hauchin. And all young members who are less than 41 years old can go to the TS Adyar website and register themselves. on that. And I would like to show you a small video of the ITC Narden, just so as it may invite those who, after seeing it, would like to go there. Just.
Unmute yourself, Chika, please.
Yeah, and the last announcement for today is our next Sunday talk, which is by our very dear brother Vicente Hauchin, who is the former president of TS Philippines and who has written many books. And he has, many of you have heard him talking about education in different platforms. But next Sunday, he will be talking on something different, something which many of the grown-ups people would like to know something about, which is theosophy and the corporate life. Because it is a myth that if you are a spiritual person or if you follow theosophical principles, you cannot, do your work honestly without corruption or all those things. So how to do all those things, we would listen to Brother Vic next Sunday, 6th March, 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time, which is 11:30 a.m. GMT, which can also be viewed live on Pragya CS Studio channel. And with this, we come to the end of today's session. And once again, let us come together in heart and mind and use all our thought power and willpower, as all of us agree here, for the welfare of everyone. May these vibrations reach all the people who are in need, whether they are in the war zone, whether they are depressed, whether they are sick, whether they are having any sort of problems. May all these vibrations of thought power reach them and comfort them. Oh. May all become happy. May none fall ill. May all see auspiciousness everywhere. May none ever feel sorrow. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining us. And stay safe and be blessed. Thank you.